What if the serpent in Eden wasn't evil, but the bringer of enlightenment? Just imagine that for a moment. Imagine that the most feared symbol in Christianity, the creature blamed for the fall of humanity, the tempter, the deceiver, was actually something else. A messenger, a catalyst, a spark that forced humanity to wake up. I know, that sounds impossible, but stay with me, because once you hear the full story, the serpent may never look the same again. Let's go back to the beginning. Not the version you were taught as a child, not the cartoon snake, not the simplified story of good humans versus evil reptile. I'm talking about the raw, ancient layers beneath the text, the versions of this myth that existed long before the Bible, the symbols that other cultures understood, the meaning hidden beneath the metaphor. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. The serpent is one of the oldest symbols of wisdom in human history. Long before Eden, long before the book of Genesis, long before the concept of sin, the serpent represented knowledge, transformation, healing, and the rising of energy through the spine. Cultures around the world knew this. Egypt, India, Sumer, Greece. The serpent was sacred. So how did the symbol of enlightenment become the symbol of temptation? Let's start with the moment everyone thinks they know. The serpent approaches Eve and says, "You will not surely die. Your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God." Pause there. Eyes opened, awareness expanded, becoming godlike. If this were any other spiritual tradition, that would be the description of awakening. So why is it painted as the ultimate act of rebellion? This is where the story takes a turn. Because the serpent isn't just a character, it's an archetype. It's a metaphor. It's a mirror reflecting the most dangerous thing any human can possess, the desire to know. Think about it. Every major leap in human evolution came from breaking a rule, touching the forbidden, asking the question no one wanted us to ask, going beyond the boundaries set for us. In Eden, Adam and Eve lived in innocence, but also in ignorance. No questioning, no exploring, no discovering, just existing. And the serpent's message wasn't, become evil. It was, wake up. This is where ancient mystical traditions offer a completely different interpretation, one rarely talked about openly. In many esoteric systems, the serpent represents Kundalini, the coiled energy at the base of the spine, a force that, when awakened, rises upward, opening the chakras, expanding consciousness, revealing truth. A sleeping serpent is a sleeping mind. An awakened serpent is an awakened soul. Now imagine that symbolism placed inside the Eden story. Suddenly, the entire narrative shifts. The serpent becomes the catalyst of human evolution, the one who awakens dormant potential, the one who introduces self-awareness, the one who unlocks the ability to choose. And choice, free will, is what makes a human truly human. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Notice how the serpent speaks not with threats, not with force, not with manipulation, just a suggestion, a whisper, a question that shakes the foundation of everything. What if you're capable of more? Isn't that what every spiritual awakening begins with? One moment of questioning the world you were given. One moment of wondering if the rules are real. One moment of feeling something inside you say, there's more than this. Some people call that voice temptation. Others call it intuition, or destiny, or the serpent energy rising. But wait, there's another layer. Think about the symbolism of a serpent shedding its skin. It's the perfect metaphor for transformation, death and rebirth. Old identity, gone. New identity, alive. Isn't that exactly what happened to Adam and Eve? They shed their innocence. They shed their old selves. They stepped into a world where they needed to learn, struggle, grow, evolve. Painful? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. Because enlightenment isn't comfortable. It never has been. It tears apart the life you knew. It forces you to see truth you once avoided. It awakens everything that was previously asleep. It demands evolution. The serpent represents that moment. The moment when innocence ends and consciousness begins. Of course, this interpretation threatens traditional theology because it reframes God not as a punisher, but as a teacher. And the serpent not as a villain, but as the fire that ignites growth. But wait, you might ask, if the serpent was wise, why portray it as evil? Because knowledge is dangerous to institutions, to systems, to those who benefit from obedience. A society that fears knowledge is easier to control. A society that believes curiosity is a sin won't ask too many questions. A society that believes enlightenment is dangerous won't try to awaken. So the serpent became the enemy. But in almost every ancient spiritual system, the serpent is the opposite. In Egypt, the Urious serpent represented divine consciousness rising through the spine. In Greece, Asclepius's serpent symbolized healing and mastery over illness. In India, the Naga serpents guarded sacred wisdom. In Sumer, the serpent god Ningishzida represented the tree of life itself. The serpent wasn't the destroyer, it was the key. So what if Eden isn't a story about a fall, but a story about initiation? What if the forbidden fruit is the knowledge that breaks illusions? What if the serpent is the force that pushes you out of the garden of comfort and into the world where you learn who you really are? You've probably had a moment like that in your own life. A decision that changed everything. A truth you couldn't unsee. A situation that forced you to grow in ways you didn't want to. A moment where innocence ended and self-awareness began. That's the serpent's energy. Not evil, transformational. Now, I'm not saying the Eden story is literal. It's symbolic. A map of the human psyche. A mirror of our inner journey. The garden represents unconscious living. The serpent represents awakening. The fruit represents knowledge. The exile represents growth. And the world beyond Eden represents life with awareness. In psychological terms, it's the moment a child becomes an adult in spiritual terms. It's the moment a soul begins its journey toward enlightenment. And here's the twist you might not expect. In some mystical Christian traditions, the serpent isn't the enemy at all. It's the Christ force in its dormant state, the energy that must rise, the energy that transforms, the energy that awakens the divine within. Think about Jesus saying, "Be wise as serpents, not avoid serpents, not fear serpents. Be like them, wisdom, discernment, awakening." Even Moses lifted a bronze serpent in the wilderness, a symbol of healing and protection, a serpent as salvation, not destruction. So ask yourself, why would sacred texts use the same symbol for both poison and medicine, both danger and healing, both temptation and wisdom? Because the serpent represents duality, the truth that knowledge can liberate or destroy depending on how you use it. Fire can warm your home or burn it down. Knowledge can free you or consume you. Awakening can elevate you or shatter the parts of you not ready for the truth. The serpent is that thin line between danger and discovery, and that's why it's powerful. Not evil, not good, just potent, like all symbols of deep transformation. So now let me ask you, if the serpent in Eden wasn't the villain, then what does that make Eve? The first rebel? The first seeker? The first human to choose awakening over obedience? Maybe the true sin wasn't eating the fruit, but daring to question the rules, daring to think for herself, daring to step into consciousness. And maybe that's why this story still scares people, because it tells you that enlightenment begins where obedience ends. If this interpretation opens something inside you, drop a comment and tell me what part shifted your perspective. And if you want more esoteric breakdowns like this, ancient symbols, hidden meanings, and the spiritual truths buried in old stories, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel grow and brings more people into this conversation. And remember, for thousands of years, the serpent was never just a snake. It was a symbol, a mirror, a spark, a teacher. Maybe it still is.